Excellent. Hello? Can you hear me? Bad luck. So welcome to today's Dhamma talk. That's better. So last night on the question time, we're just one of the things which I didn't finish off there was the question on how to be kind and how that brings one into this present moment awareness. And that's an important thing to understand because it's easier to let go of the past and let go of the future. But to bring your attention right here, right now, in this moment, that's a much more difficult thing. And because we usually get bored with the present moment at first, when we don't know how to meditate and enjoy what we're doing, that means the mind just goes off looking for something to distract itself. It's got this whole repertoire of things it can just go and enjoy. That's the heart of restlessness, is because you're not enjoying what you're doing now. You prefer to go and make something up. People feel that if they make up a fantasy or they make up either a romantic fantasy or sci-fi fantasy, that in the fantasies you're always a winner. Because you can always change the fantasies to make sure you're the winner. In other words, I don't know if Freddie likes... Did you like playing soccer as a kid?
Not really.
Wait, what did you like doing as a kid? Doing IT? But whatever you do as a kid, you can always make a fantasy up, so you're always the winner in that fantasy. So you're very rarely the loser. And because of that, you can see that people assume they have more control when they don't just experience the present moment, but they kind of make it up, fantasize about it, dream about it. And when you do stuff like that, it's a sense of it takes you away from reality of the present moment. And you're in your dream world where you have a bit of control. So because of that, and that's one of the reasons why it's difficult to stay in the present moment, because you can just close your eyes, you can think about an old experience, and this time make it better for yourself. You can think of what it must be like if you're like a musician and you're playing for an adoring audience. You can have all these fantasies about what life could be. And that's a freedom for you in this moment. And that's one of the things which takes you out of the here and now into a world where you have a bit more control. But after a while you find you get very bored of that. And because you get bored of that, it means that you're just a bit of waste of time. If you're kind to the present moment, you can enjoy it much more. The advantage of the present moment of here and now is that you find many things which you never thought were enjoyable and satisfying. And you thought you had to be like a multi-millionaire or live in a big mansion or have a very good relationship with someone and lots of kids and be healthy and be a winner, never a loser. And this is one thing which I notice. If any of you are winners, there's a lot of suffering. I do remember, this is a little story, but it made a lot of sense to me. When I was young, as a kid, I have mentioned to you that I never liked just going to school and just doing exams, but I tended to be good at it, and that sort of kind of dragged me in there. When I was young, I preferred playing soccer. I played soccer anywhere, in the street, in the park, in the backyard, wherever. And that was kind of what motivated me. But then when I started to do well at school, the teachers and my parents and my other family members kept on telling me, stop chasing the ball, do more homework. Because I know it's a sacrifice for you, but if you pass your exams, these were the O levels, then you'll be set up, you'll be happy in life. You got a good degree to start your life, or good exam results. So I trusted my parents, I trusted my teachers, I trusted my friends. So I gave up playing soccer so much, and then did my exams, and did really well at O levels, and did so well, but then I wasn't happy. You know why? Because if you pass your exams, you always have more exams to do at the next level. And at that time, to be honest with you, I wasn't chasing footballs anymore. I was chasing girls. I was a boy, you know. And so my parents and teachers said, don't spend so much time going out to parties and dances and clubs. Spend more time doing your homework. Because if you pass your A levels, then you'll be happy. That was always the prospect. Do this and get what other people advise you is happiness. And if you succeed, then you'll be happy. So I did really a lot of work. And of course I did well in my A levels. And again, was I happy? No. Because then you had like university entrance exam, a scholarship for Cambridge. I said, oh, really work hard on that one. Imagine if you go to Cambridge University and eventually get a degree from there, then the world's at your feet, you can do whatever you want. I believed them. So I worked hard and did well and got a place in Cambridge. But then, when I got to Cambridge, that's when I started to get what I call suspicious. How many more exams do you have to do to get happy? And I saw some friends who were older than I, and they had already got a degree. Were they happy? No. They were just dating someone to try and get a partner in life. And they always thought that once I found my partner in life, the one I really meant to be with, my soulmate, and then once I find that, then I'll be happy. I know there's some people who I knew at that age and they're still looking for that person. They still haven't found them. They're still unhappy. But even if they found one, then what do? Then they have to go and buy a house or an apartment, somewhere to live. You can't just live anywhere and sleep anywhere like you did as a student. You sleep on the floor in a person's house. So I saw them working really hard, trying to save money. It was not just working hard for an apartment, they're working hard to get a car, to be able to go around. When you're a student, we actually worked out then, it's cheaper to even get a taxi to go short distances, or a taxi to take you to the train station, go in a train and get a taxi on the last part of the journey. That was actually economically a much better arrangement. But if you're married or got a partner, you have to have a car. And so they were working really hard, trying to save the money, and then eventually they found a partner, got married, and then they were saving the money for the house. You know what happened next? Children, yeah. And when they had children, they had to work doubly hard, to look after the kids. And I know many of those people, when I was that age, they said, oh yeah, we're just going to make sure we get the kids a good education, make sure they're healthy, make sure they're married off. And then when they're all married off, then we can actually enjoy our life together. We have freedom, no responsibilities. Maybe go on a cruise ship and go somewhere, or go to a nice retreat center in a foreign country like here. But you know what happens next? A lot of times your kids don't grow up that easy, and 22, 23, 24, 25, they're still at home. And when they finally do leave home, they get married, then they have children. Your children have children, then you've got to look after them. You're the grandparents. So you never get free. So when I saw that, there was a promise, once I save up enough money to pay off the mortgage for the house, and I have a nice car and a bit saved behind me, when I earn enough money to save all that up, then I can be happy. And then what happens? Again, the grandchildren come, you're still not happy. You still have to work hard. And now one thing I did notice, like even here now, actually this is a pretty good group of people here, but mainly the groups of people I teach are usually old people. You know why? Because when they come to the temple, or when they go to a church or a mosque or any place, they go there when they're old because you know why? They think, when I die, then I can be happy. It's never actually happy now. And that made me kind of doubt what I was doing in life. Always just putting off the happiness till later on. If you can do that, if it needs to be done, it's a great advantage in life. But you can't do that all the time. So when are you going to be happy? Sometimes people come here and say, oh yeah, I understand the Dhamma now. When I get jhana, then I'll be happy. When I become a streamwinner, then I'll be happy. When I become an arahat, then I'll be happy. When I pass away as an arahat, then I'll be happy. Are you sure? Forget about Mahayana. Now, whatever you forget about, what is that happiness? And this is one of the reasons why, a long time ago I said, if there is real happiness, surely you'd be able to taste it now. In order actually to know there is such a thing as happiness, not in the future, not in the past, but right here, right now. And that's one of the important parts of the meditation path. You let go of the past, you let go of the future, and you stay in this present moment. I did mention this in an earlier talk. I was reminded of it by Nicholas, that if you stay in this present moment, often at first it feels unpleasant. You're tired, your body is kind of aching. It doesn't feel just blissed out straight away. But if you stay there, it's like if I stay on this cushion I'm sitting on. When I first sat down on this 5 minutes ago, it wasn't comfortable. Now it is. If you sit down on a cold seat, it's cold when it begins, but it warms up. After a while, the experience of now kind of gets better and better and better and better, which is quite strange, but it's very true. So after a while, when you start, say, watching the breathing in, breathing out, what am I doing this for? This is boring. But you stay there, and it gets more and more interesting. You see more into it the longer you are there. It's the same. This Jhana Grove Retreat Center, some of you have come here for the very first time. When you first came here, what did it look like? Does it look the same now? Or have you started to appreciate it more? To see more delightful things in it? See parts of the property which you hadn't seen before, and it looks more and more delightful. That's kind of what happens. The longer you stay in one place, the more beautiful it becomes. It's kind of like magic. The beauty actually grows when you relax and can be able to appreciate it. It's like the world doesn't allow you to see its beauty when you first come into it. But after a while, the eyes kind of open, the heart opens, the ears open, and you can hear it much more beautifully. Even like the sound of the aircon. Is that beautiful? For many people it's just a hum, it's just a blooming aircon. That's not beautiful. It's amazing, after a while you get so sensitive, you can pick up its beauty. I still remember that story where one of the monks abode in Yana monastery. He asked me, is it okay if my brother comes over from Europe? He wants to visit me. And of course. If it's your family member, of course they can come and visit. But then I told him, but look, we're very full up, we're always full up in our monastery. We're actually more full up in monastery in Jhana Grove than they are in prisons. I've always got a few places in prison, but not in here. And that sometimes makes me kind of, what on earth? Why is it so hard to stay in a monastery? No places. But there's always plenty of places in a prison. What is the difference? People love monasteries and retreat centres. That's why it's difficult to find a room here for anybody. They want to be here. And so when I started thinking about, the comfort in a monastery, it's not the comfort, the physical comfort. It's the ability for you to appreciate the comfort. Your mind opens up to it. For prisoners in a jail, it closes off. They just want to escape from jail. And of course I've been into jail visiting people many times. And this is not that much of an exaggeration. I often think or contemplate, if for some reason or other someone accuses me of something and I didn't do it, and still they sentence me to jail, I wouldn't resist. Say for a year in Incarnate Prison Farm. Oh, that'd be so lovely. In Incarnate Prison Farm I'm close enough, I'll be able to listen to any talks which are given. They probably let me, if I'm on good behaviour, to give talks over here on YouTube. So you wouldn't miss me. You can do a retreat with Ajahn Brahm, be a big screen there, and you see me giving a talk from prison. Would that be possible? But then, I could, if I needed to go on a retreat, it's hard for me to get time to go on a retreat. There's so many responsibilities and other monks get sick. So, all I need to do is to punch a prison officer and I get a month of solitary. Wow, it's hard to get a month solitary retreat here. So I think many advantages of Ajahn Brahm going to jail. I mentioned before that one of my heroes was this senior monk in Thailand. His name was Chaukun Tape Siddhimuni. And he was, many, many years ago, someone didn't like him. They wanted to push him out of the way because this Chaukun Tape Siddhimuni was the deputy Sangharaja. And as long as he was the deputy Sangharaja, the number 3 monk would never make it to be the head monk. And the number 3 monk was really ambitious in the wrong ways. And so he set this monk number 2 up to be like a communist, he said. And in those days that was illegal in Thailand, about 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so they set him up, they had a trial, and he was convicted and he went to jail. And he wrote a book about it, The Happiest Days of His Life. You can imagine it. Before he had so much work to do. And now he's put in jail, nothing to do at all. He can meditate all day. And don't even like monks, like in some traditions, they live in cells. And he was actually doing it. No responsibility. His cell was big enough, he could do some walking meditation if he wanted. Certainly do lots of sitting meditation. He had not a worry in the world. And he said it was the most peaceful, blissful period of his life. I think for 1 or 2 years. And then they found out that he was set up and he wasn't did anything wrong. So they released him. And he was always thankful for that monk who set him up and actually convicted him and sent him to jail. Thank you so much for doing that. So it's my birthday coming up soon. So if anyone asks me what do I want for my birthday, I better be careful. I'm going to get into bigger trouble. But anyway, I like that story because it was actually seeing, how you can get happiness right now, no matter whatever happens to you. And even if you get sick, the body gets sick. But does the mind get sick? You don't have to let it. Even though the body is sick or weak, the mind can still be very healthy and happy and peaceful. So it's like learning just where the happiness really lies. When it comes to even pain, there's the two types of pain, the two thorns, the Buddha said. One is a physical difficulty, and the other is the mental, emotional difficulty, the physical thorn and the emotional thorn. And of those two, the emotional one is the one which hurts the most. And to kind of prove that, I remember some of the movies I saw when I was a kid, when somebody who was like in a spy movie or something, they're trying to torture you to get some secrets out. They don't just get into it, they just say, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt, You're going to wish you were never born. And that moment it doesn't hurt at all. Why do they have to invoke the emotional thorn? Actually to get things like confessions. This is one of the reasons why when you know what suffering is, right now it doesn't hurt at all. They say they're going to hurt you, but it doesn't hurt right now. Even in our old monastery in Thailand, there was a book which we had in our library, which when people came to visit and they saw it, they asked, Ajahn Brahm, what have you got this book in the library for? And it was a book on how to give birth to babies. And they said, you're monks. You never have a baby. What have you got this book out for? And anyway, the reason we had that book was it gave a very inspiring description, on how to lessen a lot of the pain and childbirth. And it was written by a group of hippies who had left San Francisco and gone to the Midwest of the United States, formed a community. And the doctor who looked after them just was so inspired and impressed with some of their attitudes, especially to childbirth. And so he wrote a book about it. And it became a bestseller. And apparently it became so popular, it became almost like a textbook. The advice which they gave, this was 40, 50 years ago, they said, number one, never ever call it labor pain. As soon as you give it that name, labor pain, you're actually convincing, brainwashing the mothers-to-be to expect that pain. Call it something more positive. Labor energy. Labor power. You feel that power going through your body. Wow. If you have pain, you expect pain, and you grimace against it, and because you're grimacing against it and resisting it, it does become more painful. So, the labor energy. It was one of the first communities which allowed almost everybody, all your friends, to be around, when you were giving birth. I remember some of the descriptions which I read in that a long time ago, but I remember it. Then sometimes, they had a big contraction. Yeah, big one, wave. And everybody sitting around the woman giving birth was clapping and cheering. They said it was just nothing to resist or be afraid. They were the centre of attention, having a wonderful time. And actually when the labour never lasted that long, because they were enjoying it. And it didn't feel painful. It felt like energetic, powerful universal forces going through your body. And I liked that story there because it showed just how the changes of perception, looking at things in a different way, could make something which was so common, not just bearable, but almost like an exciting episode in one's life. Not to try and get rid of, but you want everyone to be a part of. And so those were kind of examples, just how by changing of perception, we can get our meditation to go so peaceful, so easy, because we know most of the difficulties are with the emotional perceptions. Number one, each one of you can be peaceful. Don't think there's something wrong with you. You were born without the full complement of meditation abilities. Every one of you can get into jhana. Not everyone will get into jhana, but you're capable. And I state that with full confidence. And that's why every now and again somebody hears something which is said and it kind of resonates and opens up the great pathways into deep meditation. And you don't expect it at all. That's always the case. You don't expect it, it just happens. You go along with it, you don't resist anything, and you're having the time of your life. And that's why, I care for each one of you. I said I've known you for a long time, many of you. And just, that'll be my dream. My sort of, wishes fulfilled when one of you gets into one of these deep meditations and you have so much happiness. And it's not just happiness for the time being. The happiness is something very powerful within your life's journeys. It's a beautiful thing to experience, and it's wonderful for me to witness. And the strange thing is, I don't know which one of you will ever get those, but I know you can. So one of those things which I taught the first day, not the first day, I think yesterday, was the essence of the meditation, now, most important time. And the thing which you are with right now, which you are aware of right now, is the most important thing in the world. And the only thing to do is to be kind to it. That kindness, that warmth. If, some years ago, someone told me that they had their cat had given birth to a number of kittens. They had a spare one, and they wanted to, they always trying to get rid of the kittens to get them to have good homes. And so they asked me, do you need another kitten in your monastery? You would love to have a kitten, but it's a really bad place for it. So I said, I can find a good home for that. So she said, what should I do? Bring it to the Friday night talk at Dhammaloka. And so I brought it to the Friday night talk, started with meditation. And we had all the doors closed. We let the kitten just roam around. And it spoiled a couple of people's meditation, but they didn't mind or complain at all. A nice little kitten coming and walking over you, and sniffing. Sometimes they'd crawl up in your lap. The kitten was choosing its future owner. And then after the meditation, then the talk, and again the kitten was still walking around, choosing someone to sit on. And at the end of the talk, there's about 3 or 4 people wanted to take that kitten home. It was almost like a fight. But it was a Buddhist temple after a Buddhist talk, so eventually they agreed one of them could take it. It was so easy to find a home for it. If you just showed it to them, they'd have said no. But so the kitten sort of ingratiate itself with some of the meditators, and then they just got attached so easy. So if you've got a little pet you can't get rid of, take it to one of the meetings of Ehipassiko or Biff, and then after a while someone will take, I've already got 3 kittens or cats, doesn't matter, you can always find another one. Your heart's always big enough to find a home for another little beautiful being to love. And so I like that idea that if you do give kindness to things, they stay with you. If you give kindness to this present moment, it doesn't go anywhere. It likes to stay with you. It's adopted you. That's what this present moment does. It adopts you. You feel comfortable here. And if you have that kindness to the present moment, of course it's easy to stay in the moment. It's a nice place to stay, right here, right now, if you add a little bit of kindness to it. And then when you add that kindness and you stay here, you don't want to go, it's not that you have to hold your mind here. Imagine if you have to hold your mind here. It's like getting this little kitten and say, I like you, stay here. And you tie it to you. Of course, that leash gets loosened a little bit and the cat goes. That's not how you can keep the awareness of the present moment, by tying it to you. You give it kindness, warmth and love, and it just won't leave you. It sort of adopts you, and you adopt it through the bond of kindness and mutual respect. And that's the same with, that's just anything in the present moment. But when you get to something like the breathing, I already mentioned yesterday, the breathing comes to you. And one of the experiments which was done to prove that was when, I'm going back to the sound thing in a moment with that monk who invited his brother, that when I first came to Perth, 42 years ago or something, that somebody came and said, I would like to invite one of you monks, or both of you if you wish, to come and try out our sensory deprivation chamber. They just bought one and I was going to be part of their business. The sensory deprivation chamber is this tank. And you put some bathers on or swimming trunks or whatever, and you float in it. It's salty water, just at your density. So in other words, you're floating in that. There's no pressure on any of your limbs at all. You don't need cushions, you're just floating, and it's warm, body temperature. So you hardly feel it. It's like you're floating in a swimming pool, fully supported, and no pressure on any part of your body. And the lid is closed and it's tight, so you can't see anything. It's dark inside. And it's soundproof, so you can't hear any sound from outside. The point is, sensory deprivation takes away all that sensory input, which a lot of times you can't control, and a lot of times is irritating for you. And so, I was number 2 monk. It's really awful being number 2 monk. You still have to do lots of responsibility. You can't get the preference of the senior monks. I know that just when I was that young monk, really thin. I know that when I was sitting in line, sometimes in Thailand, they didn't have nice cushions like you have here. It was just a concrete stage, and you had to sit cross-legged on a concrete stage. I never had any cushions. But you look at these old monks at the top, they had lots of cushions. And when I looked at that, I said, you guys don't need it. They already had their own natural upholstery. You know what I mean by natural upholstery? They had a cushion underneath their skin called fat. And I was just really upset at that. Why do these big monks have all the cushions, and the junior monks who are really thin and bony have to endure the cold, hard surface without any cushions at all? And now look at me. 50 years later, I've developed my own natural upholstery. And I've got as many cushions as I need, actually more than I need. Life is very unfair. But you also noticed they always give the senior monk the most food to eat. If you're a senior monk, you don't need much food anymore. You have it with you all the time. But anyhow, going back to this monk who invited his brother over, and so I told him, look, there's no spare accommodation. So if you want to have your brother, you'll have to share your kuti with him. You know those kutis, you saw a couple on Katina Day, they're not that big, but that's the only thing we can do. You grow up together, so that shouldn't be a problem for you. And he said, yeah, that's okay, I can do that. Then I did tell him that your brother might snore. And he said, I've already figured that out. So what I'm going to do, make sure I go to sleep first. I don't know, in your cottages, the person in the room next to you, do they snore? Don't say who's next to you, because they probably complain about you too. Who goes to sleep first? He thought he'd go to sleep first. If he goes to sleep before his brother, there'll be no problem. And that's like this other story. Please excuse me about this story, but I'm going to say it anyway. That this man came to Perth on Easter Day or something, and all of the rooms were full in all the hotels. He couldn't find a place to sleep that night. And so he got to this one hotel, and the person on the desk said, well, actually, there is a spare bed in one of the rooms which is shared. It's shared by this elderly man. And this elderly man, even though he's agreed if anybody wishes to, they can sleep in the bed in the same room, but no one ever dares to. Many have tried, they haven't succeeded, because he's a snorer. He goes to sleep very quickly, and once he goes to sleep, it's so noisy snoring that no one's ever managed to get a good night's sleep. And this man said, I'll try. Are you sure? No one's ever managed. I've got no choice, there's nowhere else to sleep. Anyway, I think I know how to do this. Are you sure? Yeah. So he paid the night fee, and he went into the room, and unpacked his stuff, and the fellow welcomed him. He was a nice gentleman. But then the elderly man, went into bed. He was about to fall asleep very quickly. But the new gentleman, he also got into his pajamas. And before he actually went to sleep in his own bed, the visitor, the new guy, went over to the elderly gentleman and gave him a big kiss on the lips. And the elderly gentleman who slept in there every night didn't go to sleep at all. So, Freddie, don't try that with the person in the next room to you. So anyhow, so what he did is much better solution. Of course, his brother went to sleep before he could go to sleep. Once his brother went to sleep, he really started snoring very loudly. And then he thought, what am I going to do now? It was his brother, they grew up together. So he remembered something Ajahn taught. It's not the noise disturbs you, it's you who disturb the noise. And he contemplated, what on earth does that mean, practically? And then after a while of thinking about that solution, he was actually from Switzerland. So he started contemplating. In that part of Europe, there's many amazing musicians. And many of those musicians experiment with what we call music. And just to take it to places it's never been before. To take away the rhythm, the beat, and have new ideas about how a song should progress. And have notes which follow one another in ways they never followed one another before, like experimental music. Once he started remembering experimental music, he was listening to his brother snoring, and after a while, his brother's snoring appeared like a masterpiece, so sonorous, breaking all the rules of rhythm and music cohesion. And it was amazing. And he thought it was so lovely to be able to hear his brother snore in this experimental music fashion. And that was the last thing he remembered when he woke up in the morning. It actually worked. And I admire that story because it was actually showing again it's the perception which makes the music intolerable or which makes it beautiful. And you can perceive almost anything to be beautiful, believe it or not. It's just changing your perception and letting perception see things in a way it's never seen before. It may be the sound of a train in a big engine rushing past your room. Or, of course, if you hear a train engine going past your room, there's something going very, very wrong there. This is very easy to go to sleep here. It should be. This is one of the quietest places in the world. Is there any noises in Jhana Grove? We don't even have bells or whistles to wake you up. No bell silence. That's what we mean by no bell silence. No bells. I can have a gong every now and again, but not a bell. And that's one of the reasons why many people here, I haven't told this stupid joke yet, many people here, they actually do win the Nobel Peace Prize. I like that idea, no bells gives you a lot of peace. And when you can understand that, it's just the way we perceive things. Sometimes, again, when there's no bells, no wake-up bells, people think I'm encouraging laziness. That's your perception of what work is, what effort is. And I've experimented with this long enough now to know that this actually works when you allow people to sleep in if they need to. You know what I discovered? I remember talking about this with a couple of well-known Vipassana teachers in the US. And they said it actually works. Some people, you don't see them in the morning. But the same people stay up late at night, meditating to 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the hall by themselves. You can see what they're up to. They're tired in the morning. At night time, they really go for it. You get many more hours on the meditation cushion when you work with your body rather than against your body. You get much deeper meditation too. That's why, we have schedules, but I don't encourage people to keep them. And I'm the boss here. I'm supposed to be inspiring you. I don't need to. Sometimes in the evening, after the last talk, I go back to my room and can meditate in there. Many of you sit in here and you carry on meditating. I don't know what time you leave the hall. It's our hall. You can stay here all night if you wish. And then in the morning, when you get tired, you can go and have a rest. You can tell the person in the room next to you, can you please just save me some breakfast and take it to my room? I allow that. If it's because you've been meditating late at night, then please tell your friend. And friend, it's a beautiful opportunity to give something to a friend who really wants to meditate a lot that night. It's like you're on fire with the energy of meditation. So it's beautiful that you give them that opportunity. And the food is not a discipline. The food there, or getting up this time, is like the opportunity to have a good rest, but not too much, and actually working with your body schedules. So that's actually how we meditate. It's all started with now's the most important time. The thing in front of you is the most important thing to watch. The most important thing to do is to be kind. But what happens? This is part of the meditation teaching, which I really enjoyed teaching, because it, again, saved a lot of problems in my own practice of meditation what should we do next? Ajahn Brahm, you haven't really taught us how to meditate. Have I? It's not the usual way you expect a teaching. Go to stage 1, and once you have established stage 1, then go to stage 2. Once you've established stage 2, then you go to stage 3, stage 4. And the deeper you go in the meditation, then you'll be happy. It's that myth again. Always think, I'll proceed deeper and I'll get more happy and closer to enlightenment. That's a kind of deceptive teaching. You never go on to the next stage of meditation, never. You go in to the next stage of meditation. You may think I'm just being pedantic, just one small word from on and to in. But it does change a lot of how the meditation progresses. I know in school and university you go to this level and then go deeper into the next level. You go to another lecture and another lecture, and you finish your bachelor's degree, then you go to your master's degree, and then you go to your PhD. And I always wonder what on earth those titles meant. A bachelor's degree? What about the ladies? You're never a bachelor, are you? So why do you have to call it bachelor degree? You call it a spinster degree or something. I don't know. And then you go to the master's degree. Why do you go to masters? You're not a master. If anything, you should, please excuse me again, a mistress degree. If you say that, you get into big trouble. And then you go PhD. At least PhD is gender neutral. But you know what it means? What does PhD mean? You said it, not me. Permanent head damage. That was this Malaysian doctor who told me that joke. But it means a lot, actually, PhD. Is that how you become wise? By having a certificate to prove you're wise? No, there's something more to it than that. That's why that years ago I picked up something from the Vajrayana tradition of the 1,000-petal lotus. You heard that story before? That you are this. Imagine this 1,000-petal lotus. But this lotus at night time it's closed up, like every lotus in a pond, and it's closed up because at night time there's no purpose for it being open, and it can get damaged by winds or storms or something eating it. So it's closed up at night time. If you ever look at any lotus, the outermost leaves, the outermost petals, always rough, thick. And I've noticed they're like corrugated. It gives them extra strength to withstand any storms or any dangers. And in the morning what happens? The sun comes up, and it's the warmth and the light of the sun when they hit those outermost petals. The outermost petals receive the warmth and light of the sun and start opening up. And as they open up, they reveal the next layer of petals, so it can receive the warmth and light of the sun, which allows the next layer of petals to open up and receive the warmth and light of the sun. Petal after petal opens up that way. And that's a beautiful simile, because the warmth and the light of the sun, in this metaphor, that represents the kindness, the warmth, and the light, the mindfulness. When those two work together, warmth and light, it opens things up. That's how you open the door of your heart, with mindfulness and kindness, warmth and light. And that's actually happening on a lotus. You see it happening. And as the lotus starts to open up, you don't have to place the lotus anywhere. It will receive the warmth and light of the sun And little by little, that lotus will open up more and more and more and more and more and more, revealing the inner layers of petals. And you also know, if you've ever seen a lotus and examined it, the deeper you go into that lotus, the more petals open up. The ones now revealed become incredibly beautiful, and more fragrant, and more delicate. They're the very profound, very beautiful, subtle layers of petals. The deeper you go. If you're not satisfied there, you don't do anything, you just wait and see more layers of petals open up naturally. You can't force it, you have to be patient. And all those petals are open up one by one. And the next layer of petals is inside the layer of petals which you can see right in this moment. The next level is right inside where you already are. You don't go anywhere. You don't get rid of anything. You just stay here and allow this moment to open out, to see what's inside of it. And that's precisely what happens with meditation. It's not what you do. Your job is just to maintain the mindfulness and the kindness, the warmth and light of the sun, that's all. And not to disturb the process. So you start, of course, you know what the lotus is, don't you? That's you. Sometimes when you're closed up, on the outside it looks a hopeless case. What are you doing at a retreat centre? Like I said to that guy, you should be down in the prison with your friends. That was my mistake, I should never say that. And for you, sometimes you think, oh, it's nice things for Ajahn Brahm to say, talking about all these jhanas and stuff. But that's not me. What happens is, someday the warmth and the light of the sun shines on you, and you start going inwards, you start opening up. You go in to your body. You close your eyes, you're not out in the world anymore, into this body with its arms and legs and heads, and then as you're watching that, it really becomes very calm and peaceful. And you can go inside of that. I'm not talking about figuratively. One of the things you go inside next is inside of time. No past, no future. Just into this moment. That's right in the center of time. And in the center of the time, the more you actually go into that, I hope you can experience this and understanding this is the truth. As you go into the center of time, you go into silence. Because all those words, they describe something which has already happened, or something you want to happen in the future, or you're afraid of happening, something you expect. But really in this moment, you can't say anything. I said in one of my descriptions, it's like you're the host of the party, greeting the guests who are coming. Doesn't matter how important that guest is. And if I say, Della, welcome to Jhana Grove, then I miss all the people coming right behind you. So you can't actually say anything, greet any experience. Just know it and let it go. That's how present you become, when you really go in to this moment, and how silent you become. And in that silence, what happens next? Silence, you're at peace, you're going inner and inner. What happens to me and for many others, the next thing which happens, which emerges from that silence, is my breath. That's still going. That brings in the final part of that story of the flotation tank. When Ajahn Jacques went in there, he said, yeah, it was so comfortable. No aches or pains in the body, couldn't hear anything, it was just floating there, it was dark, couldn't see anything. But he could always hear something. His breathing. You couldn't cut that out in the flotation tank, otherwise he'd die. So he said it was really noisy in the tank. the noise of your breathing, which is always there, you could hear because nothing else is disturbing it in the flotation tank. And it was from that I understood, just if you calm everything down, soon your sense of or your breathing will become so clear. That's always what happens to me. You're breathing, also you're meditating, you let go of the past and the future, you let go of the commentary, you're relaxing the body starts to vanish, there's nothing really is happening to it. And then the one thing which is still moving, your breath. And that's what remains, and you can experience it very clearly. So I have maintained for years that the breath is what happens naturally. When you let go of everything else, that's the last thing which is still moving. So then what do? Nothing, just mindful and kindness towards your breathing. And after a while that calms down. It calms down and gets so slow, so gentle, so peaceful. That starts to disappear too. You go inside of it. You're going deeper into this 1,000-petal lotus. And the next thing which happens then naturally, it's not what you do, it's just what happens. You see this beautiful light of the nimitta. Inside the last remaining part of your physical consciousness of touch, which is your breathing now, inside of that is the last sense of the mind. It's delightful, and that's actually how you experience the mind, the citta. And so inside of the beautiful, delightful breath, inside of it, not in the next stage, but right in this stage now, that's where you experience this beautiful light, is how you perceive. So of the citta, the mind. Many people, we mention the mind, but what does it look like? How can you experience it? I don't mean the effects of the mind, no, the mind itself. How can you experience it? And that's always been, for sort of centuries in meditation. You see it as this beautiful light inside. Is it always a beautiful light? No. Because I told this one, he was my upatak, my attendant on this retreat over in Kuala Lumpur. And I told him that sometimes the nimitta which you see, your breath is very peaceful, the breath starts to disappear, and then sometimes you see like a dirty light, like it's been stained, like a cloth which should have been put in the washing machine, but it's still dirty. And if you see something like that, it means your precepts have been a bit defiled. You've been doing something wrong. You can't deny it. You can't sort of say, no, I had to do that or something. You can see it. Instead of a beautiful, clean cloth, lovely and white or yellow, whatever, it's got smudges of dirt on it. And I remember this because this attendant came to me after the talk and he said, can I just have a couple of words with you, Ajahn Brahm? I said, yeah, of course. I got one of these nimittas and it was really dirty. What have you been up to? Yes, Ajahn Brahm, I admit it. He'd been breaking his precepts. But the thing is, I'm like a lawyer, I've got a lot of experience with these nimittas. And I know the loopholes, how you can get around this problem. If ever, I don't know if I should tell you, the best way to get around the problem is, keep your precepts. And I know some people are like that. They really are good at keeping their precepts. They're kind, they're generous, they've got this beautiful heart. And I know for them anyway, when they get nimittas, they're brilliant, they're beautiful. And you can say that's a reflection of who they are, of at least their practice of their mind. And anyway, if you do have a smudgy nimitta, obviously try to keep better precepts, more kind, less selfish or stingy. And then when you see that nimitta, you always find not everything is smudged and dirty. You always see the clean parts of that piece of cloth. The parts which are cleaner and purer than the other parts. So see if you can focus on the beautiful part of that nimitta. And as you focus on the beautiful part, the smudgy parts are on the edge of the screen, and soon they fall off the screen as you focus on the beautiful part. And then you focus on the most beautiful part of the beautiful part. And then you focus on the purest part of the most beautiful part of the cleanest part. And you keep on doing that, focusing on the good part of it, until all that smudgy part just falls off the screen. And you can get into some incredible nimittas that way. Beautiful, because that's what you're focusing on. Instead of focusing on the faults. That's where wisdom really helps. Why do we always focus on faults? Why is it you may have, say, an apple, there's only one part of it that's gone rotten, the rest is fine. Why can't you just focus on the beautiful part and eat that? That's what we do in nimittas. Focus on the most beautiful part of the most beautiful part of the most beautiful part of the most beautiful part. Then you can enjoy a beautiful nimitta and allow it to take you into a jhana. But anyway, this is as you're going deeper in. You see this light, go into it. As you go into the light, the beautiful part is usually you go through to the most beautiful part. Inside the ordinary nimitta, you see the gorgeous nimitta. Inside the gorgeous nimitta, the powerful nimitta goes deeper and deeper inwards. And as you go right into almost like the center of the nimitta, always going in, you don't go anywhere else. Then all the other stuff falls off the screen, like zooming in on Google Maps. All the rest falls off the screen, and eventually you go into this really incredibly beautiful part in this 1,000-petal lotus. Even that opens up, and that's the first jhana. And you know it's the first jhana because the incredible energy, beautiful stillness, and amazing bliss. And one of the factors of that first jhana, because once I mention this so much, many people come and ask, was that the first jhana, Ajahn Brahm? Usually the answer is no. If you think while you're in that state, this must be first jhana. If you can think about it, no. If you can talk, give things names, verbalize, no. If it's only for a few seconds, no. The real jhana is for long periods of time. They're so amazingly peaceful and still. Of course they last for a long time. When they last for a long time, you're having a really beautiful experience. Who on earth will want to get out from there? They're amazing. And you're having, again, beautiful experiences. You don't ever want to leave. And it's also, you can't hear any sound. You can't feel anything on the body. If someone taps you on the shoulder, hey, it's lunchtime, do you want to have lunch? You can't even feel them. So the sense of touch has been turned off, sight has been turned off, smell, taste and physical touch have all been turned off. Those senses are just not working for a while. The only sense you've got left is the mind. Beautiful and peaceful, not disturbed by these other five things. So they become beautiful experiences and easy things to know. So that's like the 1,000-petaled lotus. You may not have opened all those petals yet, but just keep on opening the next one and see just how deep you can go in. So in a sense, you already have a jhana, just need to open up a few petals to be able to witness it. Does that make sense to you? Does it? I hope so. Anyway, just go in there, inside as deep as you can, not onto the next stage, but into this stage. And then you can come and argue with me if you disagree with me. No one ever does. Instead they come and say, thank you. Okay? And don't ever think, oh, look, I've been here for, how many days you've been here now? 5 or 6 days. I said, look, I'm getting nowhere. I'm not going to get a jhana. Yes, you can. Honestly, it comes at a time when you least expect it. Do you expect to have a jhana this afternoon? If you don't, then you've got an opportunity. Yeah? Knees are pain. Oh, please, if your knees are pain, just put your legs out, stretch them. Look, what are my knees doing? I'm stretching them. They're not in pain, but I know they're much more comfortable like this at the moment. And after a while, if you get into the jhana, the pain vanishes. You can't feel anything of your body. You do. It's marvelous. Freedom from your body. Any other question? Any other comment? Any other complaint? I would say the 3 C's at the end of a talk. Questions, comments and complaints. Yeah? Good one. Which one? Complaint?
If we attain jhana, will we attach to that because it's too great?
Yes, you can attach to the jhanas. I was going to give this talk, sutta, in 2 days' time. Not tomorrow's, today's sutta, if I have time for it, will be the Nalakapana Sutta. This will be on Friday's sutta, the Pasadika Sutta. That question will be answered on Friday. You'll be surprised at the answer. Yes, you can get attached to it. I won't add any more at this moment. Okay? And just also to let you know that for our rains retreat, this evening is the full moon night, so all the monks meet together over in Bodhinyana, and we do our little chanting. And that's the end of the what's called the hot season, believe it or not. And then tomorrow is supposed to be the first day of the rainy season retreat. And so because of that, we have another guest coming this evening sometime. I don't know what time. And that is Venerable Chanda. She's coming with 2 Anagarikas, her first 2 disciples. And so I just want her to kind of be left alone if she wants to. She'll have jet lag, coming all the way from London, to make sure she has enough to eat. And she's resting in the nun's cottage. So when you're walking past a nun's cottage, try and be quiet. And number 2, if you see like the nun there and 2 Anagarikas. It's wonderful, the 2 Anagarikas that she has. One of them is African, very nice lady. And so she's come as well. She lives in UK from a really good family. And she's with the other one is it? No, that's right. She, I think, is from Brazil, but she's been staying in New Zealand for a while. So they're interesting characters, but don't go talking to them, except just say welcome, smile. Give them some peace and freedom for the first day. They travelled all this way. I know when I first came back from London, I was just really knocked out. And then when I arrived, in the late afternoon, there's a few things I had to do. And so the following morning, you know what time I woke up? We had our breakfast over there at 6:30. I woke up at 8 a.m. Totally missed my breakfast. I didn't mind, it's just jet lagged. That's what the body wanted to do. So please be kind to them. Okay, so now we have the interviews. So I'll be over there in 5 minutes. For this afternoon, we still have the sutta class. Yes. And we have interviews afterwards? No. No interviews afterwards. That time I can go and get ready for the entry to we call it the Uposatha today, the Patimokkha recitation. So I'll be departing over to Bodhinyana later on in the afternoon, after the sutta class.
So you just want to make sure nobody goes to that Bodhiana meditation hall after Sutta class.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And tomorrow, business as usual.